Hey guys, we actually just opened up our Instagram account for the Good Flight podcast, and we're going to be using that to kind of announce our guests ahead of time. So you can come in and ask questions to get a whole series of you guys asking questions to the guests so that we can kind of force them to answer those for you. So go over and follow the Good Flight podcast on Instagram, and we're going to use that to kind of generate feedback down the road from you. So please go over there and follow that, and we're going to create better segments of the show. Thanks for flying the Good Flight. The Good Flight!
Hey everyone, we're back again with another episode of the Good Flight podcast. This one is going to be fantastic. We have an incredible guest with us who's going to tell us lots about how to build drones and kind of how he got started in the industry. We're going to get into some great conversation with that. Towards the end of the episode, we're also going to get into a React pilot session where we're going to see different drones videos from AirVuz, and it's going to be incredible. Paul, who do we got today?
Yeah, so I was trying to think of a good way to introduce this individual. I mean, I could talk about his nearly 200,000 YouTube subscribers. I could talk about his millions of views, the countless people that he's helped, get flying, stay flying, maybe forced out of flying, who knows. And the thing that I always remember the most about this guest, and it impressed me to no end, is that Joshua Bardwell, of course, is our guest, got his start, or I think the first thing that really kicked off, and I'm going to ask him a little bit about it, was doing black box log reviews. Like, people would just upload their black box logs to, what is the name of the forum that we all used to be on? I'm totally blanking on it.
Was it some type of chat room? Was it
RC
Facebook?
Groups? Yeah, that's right, RC groups. And for years, Joshua kept doing this, and it was amazing. It was impressive, and I was just like, how in the world can you spend time doing that? Fast forward, it seemed like that sort of one-to-one stuff had stopped, or at least wasn't as like a prominent part of who they were at their core. And when I became a member of Rotor Riot, I went to Seattle with Rotor Riot. Bardwell was there as well. And I remember getting up one morning, like 6 a.m, to get ready for the day's shoots. And there's Bardwell sitting at the kitchen table of the Airbnb that we're at with a coffee on his laptop. I'm just like, oh, good morning. What are you up to? And he's like, oh, I'm just answering emails. I'm like, what emails? He's like, oh, I spend 2 hours a day just responding to people and helping people. And I'm like, wait, so you're still to this day, you have kept to your brand for the entire run of what you've been doing and stayed on point by being that point person for one-to-one help. That's absolutely incredible. And that's kind of the reason why I think Joshua fits the Good Flight motif perfectly. So Joshua, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys very much for having me and for saying such nice things about me.
We can say bad things too, but we'll
yeah.
The show's about the good things. So is that true? Like, and I might be totally missing something, but the first time that at least I heard about you had been through those early black box log deep dives.
Yeah, that's true. That's where I first started getting subscribers. I had a couple other videos that I posted beforehand, but I was wanting to learn more about black box logging and just what the PID controller was doing. And I didn't have enough information just based on my own quads. So I was on RC groups. I started asking people if they would just post their logs, and then I would look at them. And then I did, and I sort of talked about what I was learning, what I was seeing. And I got my first maybe 500-600 subscribers just doing that, just posting videos about that stuff.
Just hustling hard. Just that. I mean, that's dedication. That's hard work. And honestly, it's something that not a lot of people really do. I mean, I know a lot of people in the FPV hobby at this point, and a small percentage of those even to this day go into black box. I mean,
well, it's interesting because black box logging is less necessary in some ways than it ever was, because the PID controller is smarter and smarter, and the defaults are better and better. And so the ability to slap a default tune on a quad and then it just flies pretty good is great. But on the flip side, the problems that you run into now are such edge cases that if you do run into a problem, you kind of have to have black box to solve it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've never even used black box. I'm the guy that puts the pretty much the default tune on my Betaflight quad. After watching some of your videos, I'll do the adjustments with the filters and, the RPM filters and things like that. I'll pretty much just set it up however Joshua says it. That's how I'm setting it up, and it's like pretty amazing. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of lazy. I mean, for someone who works so hard, I'm surprisingly lazy. What I mean by that is, like, I kind of just want to fly. My learning about black box had to do with wanting the quad to fly better. But now that you can put default PIDs on there, and then I've got a couple other changes that I make, and I basically make the same changes to every quad. And then if something bad happens, maybe I'll start to dive deeper, or maybe I just won't fly that quad and I'll be like, I'm getting on with my life. But there are PID tuning changes that I make, but I seldom find myself going, I have to solve this. Because once it flies like 90% good, I would much rather focus on being a better pilot than focus on getting a better tune.
I'm very much the same way, especially with my building. Like, people look at my builds and they're like, oh, you're a professional at this? I'm like, no. I get in the air and then the magic happens. I don't care about what it looks like because I don't see what it looks like. It's just I'm
the same way. Yeah, people doing like wire loom, and they just make these beautiful builds. And I'm like, minute you crash it, it is all gone. It's all for nothing. And there's some chance you're going to crash it or lose it. And I'm just like, I don't see the quad when I'm flying. I see what's in front of it.
Yeah.
So I really don't care how the quad, as long as it's mechanically sound and flies good enough, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the classic FPV answer to a lot of that stuff. Like, I remember being at a quad camp with Safety Thirds. I was like, does anyone use any lubricant, for the motors, for the bearings? And they're like, fly them until they fall apart, dude. Stuff like that. That's just the classic.
People always ask me about like batteries. Like, oh, do you storage charge your batteries as soon as you get back from the field? I'm like, nah, I'm gonna kinetically destroy them before I chemically destroy them. It's
largely. I mean, you should. So I still storage charge. Like, I try to stop flying when they're roughly at 3.6, maybe.
Yeah,
they're resting 3.6 to 3.7. And I don't rush to storage charge them usually.
Yeah.
If they're fully charged and I know I'm not going to go fly, after a day or two, I'll put them on storage. But yeah.
I mean, I'm never intentionally leaving them that way, but do I sweat it? Nah.
No, I don't sweat it.
But rewinding back to those black box days, like, I love that the mentality was to learn by educating, right? That's one of the best ways to learn, is to then teach it back, because it forces you to learn better and better and better. And I try to do some of the same things in any point of life that I can. But kind of flashing back to then, was it your intention to garner a following? I'm not saying for go ahead.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, I was I was a professional instructor. I was a corporate classroom instructor, not like university or academic, but like, you bought our software and then I go to your company and sit in a classroom with your engineers for a week, teaching you how to use it, that kind of thing. So I was doing teaching basically straight out of college for about 10, 11 years. And I always really enjoyed that aspect of helping people do something better, be happier by helping them solve problems, teaching them. And so when I just always approach, like, before I was into quads, I did welding, just hobby welding for fun. And I was thinking about tutorials and stuff. That's just how I always process information. So I was always wanting to connect with people who wanted to learn from the stuff that I was doing. But the idea of kind of getting a following, getting a YouTube subscribers and becoming, that was never really on the cards. I remember the first time somebody said, dude, you should do a Patreon. This was around, I had thousands of subscribers, single digit thousands probably.
Yeah.
And they were like, you should do a Patreon. And I was like, no, Patreon. I'm just making videos. Who really cares?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, but so that's continued to grow, obviously. And I think it seems to me that at a certain point you kind of clicked over and said, this is now what I can be doing full time. I remember, I think you made a video where you're just like, hey guys, guess what? I'm cutting it off. I'm going for this. What happened between I make videos because I want to learn, and I can now do this as a career? Like, what's that, like, you know, for people that want to go that path, how do they do it? My answer is don't. And and then, like, you know, describe for that path to me, like, what happened along the way? When did you realize that you might have a shot at it?
So I started making videos, and I just felt like I had so much to say that I was making, at the beginning, I was making between 5 and 7 videos a week. I would post something nearly every day. And the videos didn't have the same sort of, now I'm closer to 4 to 5 videos a week.
Sure.
Which
is still insane.
True. They're a lot more. It used to be I would just sit down, I would just talk for 10 minutes, and I'd post the video.
Yep.
And that was my video for the day. But I got into a rhythm of posting almost every day. And I had people like, well, how do you come up with content? And it was like, it's great because people ask you questions and bring you their content. Right. So I got into that rhythm. I got subscribers. I started building a Patreon. I started building affiliate income. And one day I looked at those numbers, and it was enough to pay my bills. And I was like, oh, because I'd always thought of it as supplemental income.
Yeah.
Like, now I can buy quad parts and I don't have to justify it to the household budget. But I was like, I could just quit my job. And then I was like, well, if you find yourself in that situation, you just got to go for it. Because so many people who want to make a full-time living out of it they're not in this. They would have to take a risk.
Right.
And there was risk, obviously. It could just dry up tomorrow. But a lot of people, they say, should I quit my job and then try and make a living at YouTube? And I'm like, no, because it's going to take you. People are like, how do I do it? I'm like, make videos every day for 2 or 3 years for free. And maybe at the end of that, you'll be able to make a living at it.
100%.
Yeah.
At that time, you know, did you have trepidation about it? Did you have some confidence that it was going to be fine? I don't remember if you're married or not, but you've lived with a partner for a long time. You have
Thank you. It's true.
A son.
Thank you for not making it an assumption.
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't mind, but I appreciate it.
We need to talk about the partners a little bit because that, honestly, I feel like we all have kind of similar stories, and it's the support that we have from our partners that I think allowed us to get this far for the love of drones. Because I wouldn't be here without the support of my wife and like my family, because even though I do have a history in YouTube, I was more like the drone guy for a lot of popular YouTube channels. That's how I kind of entered into the YouTube space. It's the same kind of pursuit, the pursuit of making it work with doing something that you love that takes years. And I don't think that's just with drones. That's with probably a lot of different things. And you know, those people they've asked me those same type of questions, like, how do I get to where you are, where I'm like, you know, how did you get started in this? Well, I made like a pretty clear, you know, decision to say, hey, I'm going to invest myself and my time and a little bit of money to like buy the equipment that I need to make this successful. But then I'm going to like sweat and like blood, sweat, and tears to get through there, and also figure out how to be sustainable and pay my bills with some side jobs. You got to have some side hustles too. You know what I mean?
The way to make it work, you hear people, I hear stories sometimes, and they're like, well, I quit my job and I'm going to be a YouTube star. It's like, that's a tough one.
That's not
the way to
works.
make it work is to do it as a side hustle. But the problem is that it is such a grind. You literally are going to be just working basically 2 full-time jobs, your day job and then your side hustle. And you unless you get extraordinarily lucky, you're not going to make any money at it, maybe ever, but certainly for 6 months or a year or maybe longer. We can all think of examples of people, like there's a channel I watch called Girlfriend Reviews. They do video game reviews, and they posted their first video and they just immediately got tens of thousands. It just blew up. And I'm like, that is not going to be you. You just got to want to do it so bad that you do it for free for a long time. And then eventually you start to get discovered, whether that's professionally or on YouTube. That's the only way I know how to do it.
Absolutely.
I think the whole YouTube famous thing too is a bit of a slippery slope as well. Like, I think with the younger generation, I'm talking high schoolers and even younger, they see being a YouTuber as a career path. I think it's probably like one of the top 10. You know, if you were to interview a bunch of kids in junior high, they'd 1 out of 10 at least would be like, I'm going to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
I can tell you from my experience, which again is like, so when I first started in drones, I was, like I said, the drone guy for some channels that had over 10 million subscribers.
Let's name drop a couple.
Yeah, sure. I did work with Prank versus Prank. They had over 10 million subscribers. Jesse Wellens and his girlfriend. I went to Peru with them. I've also worked with Casey Neistat and Jesse when they did like the Aladdin video through New York City and San Francisco. I was like the second camera / like DP on that, you know? So yeah, pretty much Casey Neistat and Prank versus Prank. There you go. Boom. Like that's like 20 million subscribers right there.
At the time. Now it's more.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to take away anything you guys are doing because I see it's different. You're attached to a community as tight as it is with drones versus their audience base, which is, you know, international kids pretty much. Even at that level, there was a lot of uncertainty with their attitudes towards their lifestyles and stuff like that. So granted, they were making some money, but they weren't really, I don't want to like speak for them. I'm sure they're never going to watch this, but they didn't seem like very happy when I was around them at all. And they were all talking about the same stuff that we're talking about. What's going to go viral? What should the thumbnail be? And, you know, what's the clickbait title? Meanwhile, they were madly successful at the time too. So
yeah, I think it's an easy trap for any self-employed person to get into, to always be low grade terrified that it's all going to dry up, that one day the phone's going to stop ringing. And that is magnified in a world where you are at the whims of the YouTube algorithm, which I mean, like if you actually have a brick and mortar business, probably it's not going to just disappear in one day. You're like going to see it coming over a course of a couple months, maybe.
Yeah, or like a pandemic or something comes in. You can
yeah, like literally YouTube could just decide they don't like you anymore. I mean, it's not quite that bad, but it feels that way. And so you're always trying to think about that grind, and it really does drive you. And I imagine it only gets worse. You don't get more security when you have 10 million subs. It gets scarier because now you have more money, more stuff at stake. For me, the place that I take a little bit of security from is that at the end of the day, the YouTube channel is a conduit to an audience. And that connection with the audience hopefully exists independent of that. I have patrons on Patreon, you know, who sign up for a monthly, you know, couple bucks a month, whatever. And one of the things that I thought of when I moved to full-time is that even if 100% of the YouTube and 100% of the affiliates dry up, the Patreon is probably not just going to disappear overnight. You know, and I will be able to sort of hopefully ride that out a little bit. It's been okay, but yeah, you have to play a whole bunch of different games, not just be successful at what you do, but also then be successful at social media and YouTube. And it's a whole different thing. It's actually really challenging to, like, how much of my brain do I spend thinking about how to be successful on YouTube versus thinking about drones? And, you know, originally it was like 95/5, and I just didn't even think about YouTube.
Yeah.
But the more I rely on it as an income source, the more space it has to take in my brain, and the less time it's been thinking about flying, which is a challenge.
And when you say YouTube, I assume you're probably not focusing so much on just like YouTube as a platform, but on content creation as a whole, on finding a way to generate an audience. I just want to throw that out there to everybody listening, like that. It's not just about, oh, how do I do this on YouTube? It's how do I build an audience and keep them engaged and keep them excited.
It's every step of it. I mean, I enjoy video production. I used to do audio recording back when I was in my 20s. I recorded stuff. I did some studio recordings just for fun. And now I'm in video production, and I do all the sort of, but I spend a lot of time thinking about how can I get better image quality from my camera. How can I, you know, massage the algorithm to get more views for my videos? What topics are going to be popular, and so on. So there's so many parts of it, and it's hard to. You start out and you're doing it all yourself, and it's hard. Like I have an editor that I pay, and he edits 95% of my stuff, at least first pass edits. I usually go back through it and kind of tweak it a little just for my own, just to make myself feel like I'm useful. The ability to outsource that was a big move that freed up time to do other things.
Mhm.
I wish I could outsource more of it.
Yeah.
I think you were talking about a little bit before with Patreon. You're talking about diversifying a little bit, right? Like, what are some other ways you've diversified yourself over the years? I know you're involved with Rotor Riot. Like, can you talk about those other partnerships or those other just vehicles that help you know that, hey, this isn't going away overnight? You're involved with these different communities and different companies.
Yeah, I mean, that for me was the ultimate fallback when I decided to go full time, was that even if all of these income streams dry up, I have relationships with companies like Rotor Riot, like Get FPV, like Race Day Quads. And I just have people are aware of me as a person with this skill set. So I hope that if all of it did dry up for some reason, that there would be other opportunities to use these skills. Obviously, I like doing what I do. I like just being able to get up and make videos or do whatever I want to do. If I was I don't take a lot of consulting work because I really don't. I just want to do whatever I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
When I have a deliverable with a deadline and then someone's going to tell me I didn't do it right, I'm not really into that. Who is? But that's the hope, is that if it were to dry up, then there would be relationships with companies and other people in the industry.
Relationships. I mean, that seems to be like the core of every, I don't want to say like business 101, but it's hard to understand relationships when you don't have any. But I can certainly say that going out there and helping people like the way you are doing is a great way to make relationships, because you're helping people. And that's kind of how over the years, I work not just for my company, Flying Monster, but there's half a dozen or 10 other companies around the country that I work with pretty frequently. There's a company in Florida that I work with. There's 2 companies in Los Angeles that I work with on the cinema side. And I know that, hey, when I'm a little bit slow or something, that there might be a call or something that pops in there. So it's the same thing. And that's the only way I've been able to sustain doing what I'm doing, which is, working with drones every day. It's because of those relationships. Paul, what about you? Like, what about your relationships? Like, do you feel the same way? Is this a common theme here?
Yeah, it is definitely about the diversity of them and figuring out how to foster true relationships, right? I never
DRL is that part of what DRL is? Like you're we had Gab on the show. I mean, you have a great relationship with Gab and stuff.
In terms of like the different kinds of relationships, like I try to push on a lot of different directions, right? I push on racing, I push on filming, I push on content creation, and I've actually been pushing on a little bit of consulting. So it's kind of funny that Joshua was just bashing that, because I actually really like that part of it. But in having the opportunity to look at each of those pushes back on me in a bunch of different ways, right? The more I race and the more I'm involved in the racing community, the better I'm at handling pressure, and the better I'm handling pressure, the better work I can do when I'm on set filming. And when I spend time learning how to film better, it goes back into my content creation. And doing content creation is a grind. It gives me the drive to push harder on racing. And it just kind of goes in this cycle. And so, building those relationships builds me up. And that's what I want to keep it about is how do I continue to improve on myself by reaching out and being involved as much as I possibly can. So I want to circle back to something that John was talking about, was with the, you're saying that the YouTubers that you were working with didn't seem happy because they were so focused on the aspects of the grind.
Yeah.
But do you think that potentially the grind is now the focus, and as a result, what they and we, I guess, work so hard to make look fun, even though it is to a degree, like the success is fun, the process is fun, good projects, good times. Do you think that holy cow, I'm just going right off the end. Do you think that that's, it's gone and become a job now? I guess, Joshua, do you feel like is it just a job? Is it more than a job?
I wouldn't say it's just a job, but I mean, Paul, you made a point in a chat a little while back where you were saying that it was a big insight for you to realize that this was a job. Which is not to say you don't do it for fun. Like you could do something for a job and then also do it for fun. Mm-hmm. Ideally, those two things overlap. But you said it was a big insight for you where you realized it was a job. And at the end of the day, you were accountable to your customer. And as long as your customer is happy and you're making money, then you're doing it right. And that's a willingness to treat it like a job and to realize that's what it is. I mean, I think that's something that is missing. A lot of people see it very personally.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these sort of dramatastic explosions whenever two companies or have an argument or somebody, whatever. There's things that cause these drama blowups. A lot of people who see it as not just a job, but like it's like a soap opera that they're watching, and they get this juice out of participating in it. But that doesn't mean that it can't be fun. Anytime you do something, and if you stop doing it, you won't make money anymore, and you're not going to be able to pay the bills. There's pressure there. Mm-hmm. I mean, but everybody lives under that pressure in one form or another. And so it is still a privilege to be able to do something that you enjoy, but you don't enjoy it in the same way once you're doing it professionally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not, I definitely enjoy every day of what I'm doing, but there are definitely days where it's work. It's always work. Like I've probably worked 12 to 14 hours a day for the last 3 weeks straight
and every minute you're like, well, I'm going to go fly some packs. Okay, well, which video do I need to make? Yeah. Or how am I going to translate this into content?
Yeah.
Like every single thing I do, I just put a freaking battery lead on my car battery so I could plug in a charger without having to use alligator clamps.
Yep.
Made a video about it.
Yeah.
Right. And it is nice sometimes when somebody's like, hey, do you want to just fly? And we just fly and you're not recording or making anything. But it's hard because you got to put content out.
Yeah, it makes you reframe everything into, it's not just about the hobby anymore. And the point that you were bringing up about me saying it was important to realize that it's work now is that it frees me from taking things too personally. Right. I get anyone that is brave enough to attempt to be in front of an audience is going to receive a lot of negativity.
Let's just call it how it is. Anyone who's YouTube celebrities like you two guys. Celebrities.
I'm saying anyone that puts himself in front of an audience. And it doesn't have to be on YouTube. It could be on, someone who on a movie, on a stage, on a in a classroom. Doesn't matter. There's going to be negativity. People choose for whatever reason to respond to things very negatively sometimes, and that hurts. It sucks. Like for every 1,000 nice comments, they're like, "Oh, this was really cool. Thanks for doing this." There's one guy that's just like, "Yeah, but it's so heavy, and you're dumb." And I'm just like, "Wait,
yeah."
And that's the stuff that I remember. And if if they're saying that about my hobby, about something that is personal to me, I'm going to take it personally. But if I can kind of put a brain barrier, not in an unhealthy way, just in a this is not a part of me. It doesn't define me, and get away from that feeling of negativity, I'm able to then be more free. You feel the same way?
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, one of the things I realized is that in the beginning, when you're small, basically the only people who know you exist are people who like you. Mm-hmm. Because people who don't like you don't give you a second look. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you get popular enough that people who don't like you have to acknowledge your existence, and you start getting this negative feedback. Mm-hmm. And it's natural, I think, to wonder, what am I doing wrong? And then hopefully you get through that. But the problem that I think I struggle with is you're always going to have some negative feedback, and you can't get too tied up in that or it'll just crush you. But the flip side is that you don't want to end up in an echo chamber, mm-hmm. because you can think of examples of people, celebrities, maybe very wealthy people, and they're in this crazy self-affirming echo chamber where they never hear criticism, and they don't even know that maybe something they're doing is wrong or whatever, or is hurting them. And it's tough to know where the line is between sort of, hey, I need to pay attention, this was the wrong thing to do, and no matter what you do, someone on the internet will hate you for it.
Yeah. In spite of, that kind of hate and the grind and the lack of certainty. I mean, we've talked about a lot of downsides of being a part of this. What do you find is, I mean, what's rewarding? Terrible. What makes it worth it?
I mean, it's obviously it's a freaking dream. Number one, to be self-employed. so that you can just choose what you do every day. I mean, you have to do what your audience is interested in, but hopefully there's an overlap there. To be able to, I work out of my house. That's nice to be able to spend time with my family and to be able to fly drones, fly quads, FPV. It's fantastic. Like, that's all the upsides. To be able to pay the bills flying FPV, I think a lot of people would do it, or whatever your hobby is.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this is a weird question or not, but I kind of was just thinking it to myself. Like, I should have asked this to a lot of people that we
make it even weirder. Whatever you're thinking, go even weirder.
What does a day in the life of Joshua Bardwell look like? I mean, I'm kind of curious. Like,
have you guys seen those? They're made. I forget which channel made them, but it's like a day in the life of Markiplier, and they just go through the guy's day in the life of Binging with Babish. I've thought about making one of those for my channel because I think it'd be great. I think people might think it was funny, but so I typically start off. I just answer messages that came in overnight. The first thing I do every day is usually try and clear out most of my messages.
You don't brush your teeth. You don't take a shower. Make some coffee. What kind of coffee?
I make a cup of coffee. Yeah, make a cup of coffee. I sit down and I answer messages. I usually don't feel good trying to make a video or do anything until I feel like I've caught up on the messages.
Why do you put such an emphasis on that still? I feel like, do you not feel like you could multiply yourself more by focusing on making the video, but you take that time personally to do that, and which is inspiring to me. I'm not criticizing it. I'm curious. I want to hear, what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. One of my motives is that when I see a question or an issue come up in my messages, I mean, the messages are research for future videos. And when I see an issue that people are having, then I want to make a video about it. And then that helps answer that question for more people. But the personal connection, I feel like that personal connection is what got me where I am. And that's really important to keep up. I'm probably wrong about that. Like, I probably could be successful by not being as personally available to as many people. But I mean, it's a very straightforward transaction. Like, you make a video and like, maybe people like the video, maybe they don't like the video, maybe it gets you subs, maybe it doesn't get you subs. But if somebody asks you a question and says like, I can't get my receiver working, and you go, okay, here's what you need to do. Boom. That is a very simple transaction. It's a net positive. And they feel good towards you, and you can just do that 300 times a day, and eventually I have 2,600 patrons right now. So
300 times a day. Wow! It also probably helps too when you have a huge catalog of videos out there answering these questions already ahead of time.
Go look at this one.
It's true.
Like,
it helps a little. Yeah, I do some of that.
Thinking about kind of going back to that story at the beginning of just kind of stumbling across you doing that process. Like, I really do mean that was very inspiring to me to see that, you have stuck to, I'm going to say the word brand. You stuck to your brand from the beginning, but you've stuck to who you are. And that's not true of everybody that goes down this path. And I just want to admonish you for continuing to do that. That's it's impressive. It's truthful. It's powerful. So thank you for being you.
Thank you. Yeah, some things have changed there are some things that are different. I make different kinds of content. There are people who say, I wish you still did more black box stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, no one is the same person that they were 5 years ago. And I mean, I almost feel like if you said I am the exact same person I was 5 years ago, it's like, well, so there are different things that I'm interested in. There's different types of content that I want to make. The through line is always that I'm trying to help people, whether that's with a tutorial or a troubleshooting guide or a product review. Even with the product reviews, which, I mean, honestly, the product reviews are in a lot of ways what pays the bills.
Yep.
Because people really like product reviews.
Yeah.
Like, I wish you made more educational content. It's like, well, that's not what my analytics say.
Yeah.
But but I feel like, you always want to be helping people, and that's the through line at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think that process, of being true to yourself, of being available one-on-one to help people, that's developed super fans. I mean, like, as if I scour anything anywhere, if somebody says, how do I do this, the next thing is a link to Joshua something that Joshua Bardwell has put out. And, the first of all, testament to your grind and drive to be a part of that. But at the same time, it's, who you are by default, who you've chosen to be and continue to execute being is what has garnered that. And that's awesome. Like it's cool. And I'm excited to see that continue to grow for you and to be successful for you.
I hope so.
To the point where, you can make a living doing it.
Yeah.
You're making a living doing what you're doing, not because you want to, but because people have willed you to, in a way. Like,
yeah. Like I said, back when people said, "Oh, you should start a Patreon," I was like, I don't know. I'm just making videos, whatever.
Yeah.
But the videos help people. I still don't. I mean, the sort of machine I hope is that people ask me questions, that when I see that there's a need through those questions, I make a video about it, and then they are appreciative and then they support me. And hopefully that can just keep sort of running.
Yeah.
That circle can just keep running. We'll see.
It's that grind that's interesting to me. There's another grind that you've kind of a recent endeavor, which I think is interesting. It seems like you want to become a better pilot. This 3 packs a day thing, I think is really, it's not genius. It just makes sense. If you want to be a better pilot, 3 packs a day, boom, there it is. What's going on with that? Has it worked?
I mean, I feel like one of the things that suffers is that whenever I fly, I'm usually doing it in the context of a video. So I'm doing a review or I'm doing some kind of a test, but I'm not actually as focused on just being a better pilot. And so I just did the 3 packs a day experiment where for 30 days I flew 3 packs every day. The experiment actually went longer than 30 days because I didn't just post nothing but that for a whole month. So I would space out the videos, but I was still doing it. And I do think it made a difference. I mean, I hope it made a difference, because if you do something intentionally over time, hopefully you get better at it. I always struggle with where the limitations are in how good of a pilot I can be. Obviously, some of it is no matter how much I practice, I'll only get so good because just where I am physically, mentally. Some of it is that I spend a lot of time making videos and not as much time flying 50 packs a day or whatever. So it's tough.
3 packs is a good number. Anyone that says they fly 150 packs a day like Nurk is just psychotic. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, it's for a different purpose though, right? I would say that Joshua is on top of becoming a better pilot, just trying to stay in touch with essentially what your roots are, in a way where, when I choose to fly 150 packs a day, or Vanover chooses to fly 150 packs a day, it's for that very specific goal of, I need to go faster than these other schmucks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you guys are also pushing. You're going from, there's this nonlinear progression that when you go from 0 to 50%, it's easy. You say, I'm going to learn to play guitar. Yep. You could be a half decent guitar player in a month, right?
Yep.
But to get from 98 to 99% is this enormous grind.
Yep.
And that's where you guys are at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So 3 packs a day isn't that hard. If anyone wants to become a better pilot, or just in anything related to drones, just pick up the sticks and get some stick time.
The takeaway was that just people think, oh, you got to put in hours and hours of stick time. But my theory is that a little bit of practice consistently can make a big difference. So even if you can just get a couple tiny whip packs in on your lunch break, or maybe, before the sun goes down after work or whatever, a little bit of time consistently and with intention. Don't just be like, I flew a couple packs, but think of something you want to be better at and practice it just a little bit. More practice is better, but a little bit of practice makes a big difference.
What symptoms did you see as a result of having done that? Like from the beginning to the end of, I guess it's still ongoing, but, from beginning till now, like what is the most dramatic changes that you've seen?
Well, two things I think happen. One is that you unlock sort of tricks. So some of the days I would say, I'm going to work on this trick. And if you work on the trick and you start to feel it out, instead of it just becomes a trick that you can then do. And work into your lines and so forth. So it adds to your repertoire, your vocabulary, if you will. The other thing I would do is I'm going to only fly new lines. So I'm not going to fly any of the lines that I normally fly around my property. And I'm going to try and find new gaps and new lines. So just changing the way you think about, I'm going to fly super smooth. I feel like overall it just added confidence and variety.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's
Awesome.
that's a property too. That's like, I mean,
Iconic. It's in a video game now.
it is really.
Yeah.
It's in a sim.
It's true.
Which one?
Liftoff.
Liftoff.
they
Hell
put-
yeah.
Well, but your
They
face
put
is
my
in
house in it.
Liftoff too, isn't it? Though.
The Liftoff Xbox game. I'm
Okay.
the instructor for the career mode of the Liftoff video game.
What's that like?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Something about console. I don't know why. Like my house is in Liftoff on PC, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But then you see yourself on an Xbox game, and you're like, whoa, it's the real deal.
Awesome.
So
That's
It's
really,
like
really
it's
cool.
like Tony Hawk Pro Skater kind of, It's like it just
Yeah.
feels like legit,
There
it'll
you
be
go.
immortalized forever.
yeah. So if anybody doesn't know that, you can play Liftoff on your Xbox now, or your PlayStation.
And write it off. If you're a professional, that means you can
Yeah.
probably write it off as a business
They can
expense.
write it off.
So
Jerry.
I think we made it to like 8:00 in the morning on your day in the life of Joshua.
Yeah.
Bardwell.
Well, probably more like 10 or 11.
Okay.
So usually I'm up by about 9, have some breakfast, hang out with my kid, make a cup of coffee, answer messages, usually by about 11 at the earliest, maybe noon, sometimes 1, depending on how many messages have come in overnight. Then I'm sitting down to work. I've got an editorial calendar. This whole year I've been trying to be really organized, just focus on plan what videos I'm going to make instead of just constantly feeling overwhelmed about the videos I'm not making.
Mhm.
So I'll try and shoot content. Sometimes if I'm behind, I will I'll finish editing the day's video and post the day's video.
Yep.
I usually like to have the video posted the night before, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
So I'll get the edit from my editor, and I'll sort of finalize the edit.
Yeah. Sometimes editors just take way too long and they never get it to you on time.
He's really good. The guy, he's very good. He's worked with me for almost, it's got to be close to 2 years now, maybe more than 2 years. If it's more than 2 years, I missed the anniversary.
You didn't get him a nice Rolex?
Yeah. He wants a Mavic. He wants a Mavic Mini too.
Yeah.
He's like,
that's a good
I don't want to be over. I don't want to, if it's not appropriate, let me know. But I was like, you guys, you're working with DJI, right? Is there any way I could get a Mavic Mini too?
Nice.
I was like, I'll see what I can do.
Black Friday special coming up.
I'll make a call.
But so post a video if I haven't posted a video, and then work on today's video. It's hard in the winter.
Yeah.
Because it's like getting dark by 4:30. So by the time I've answered all the messages and posted the video, sometimes it's 2:30, and it doesn't have a lot of time to make content. But yeah. So then throughout the day, I'm still answering messages. I usually try to clear my inbox before I go to bed, and then first thing in the morning at the very least.
Wow.
Then in the evening, usually spend some more time with my kid before bed. And then sometimes go back downstairs and, by 10, he's asleep or in bed, and then work again till maybe 1 or 2,
Yeah. I feel that, that schedule, that grind, like, cause I think the worst part about it is that it's self-enforced. Cause like half the time when something is not ready in time, or it's not quite there, I could just say, I won't do it. But then what that happens is then it gets delayed, and then it keeps getting pushed back, and then suddenly I've not made a video for 2 weeks, and that's all because I let it slip once, instead of staying on the grind and motivated and getting something out. Where are you on the it's got to be perfect versus just ship it spectrum?
Man, that's tough. It's tough because the more influence you have and the more people who pay attention to what you say, the more the consequences are of just saying, screw it, I'm just going to push it out. If I push out a product review and it's got a mistake or it got some half-assed thing in it, like a great example, I don't mean to pick on, I'm trying to think of an example where I did it. It's not coming to me, but I just saw this.
Pick on Nurk. It's okay. What did he do?
This was a video from I think it was Albert Kim, and he was doing his shark bite review, and I so identified with him. He had something wrong with his brightness settings in his camera, and so the shark bite footage was super dark. And he released the video, and he said in the video, my settings were messed up, the camera was super dark, but you can still see where it's breaking up. And he was totally right. But a lot of people were like, and I was like, I totally know why you did that. It was the end of the day. You wanted to get the video out. You wanted to have it done. And you were like, it doesn't matter. And maybe it doesn't. But then
now we're talking about it on a podcast.
Yeah,
now we're
because
shitting on Albert Kim.
Because now, to their credit, Fast Shark has never done this to me. But there are some manufacturers where if you put out a review and in some way it makes their product look bad that they thought wasn't fair, they're going to be blowing up your inbox and be like, "Hey, you shouldn't have," and it's because they care about their product and maybe the criticism is valid.
Yeah. Well, and that's when I come back. Did you pay me to say good things? No. Then I say what I want.
I don't. I
don't do it either. But like it's you gave me like.
Well, but the question is how you ask how much does it matter between just shove it out there and make it perfect?
Yeah.
And there's a perspective where like if you're like it's good enough, it's a half-assing it, whatever. You get some good information out there. I put any information out there, so it's more than you had before. But at a certain point, people there start to be consequences for that, and it forces you to work harder.
Yeah.
To make it perfect.
Yeah, it's a bummer because like when you have to just get it out, it's never or infrequently laziness. It's I've worked so hard already and I can probably take it again another 5% better, but if I spend another 2 days on this, is it going to make it 5% better? Probably not. So let's go, let's get it out, let's move on, let's entertain,
Yeah, it's very challenging, especially with the schedule that I have. I mean, I try to put out like 4 videos a week minimum. That's where I'm at now.
Yeah, starting next week. And if you're watching this, this is going to be 3 weeks old. Starting next week, I'm going for a video every single day of the week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Dude. It's a grind.
God bless you guys. Seriously.
In the comments below, if there's been 12 videos between the last podcast and now, let me know.
Nice.
I post on my Instagram like once every 6 weeks.
Once a quarter.
Oh yeah. Just don't bother.
Ugh.
Well, I mean, at least you guys are doing it again, like within a community that it's more meaningful versus these other YouTubers that are going out there and they're just making videos for pure entertainment. I mean, I feel like because we're so entrenched with the FPV community and the drone community in a whole, it sounds like there's more fulfillment on your guys' end for just doing the work anyway, and you might as well be documenting it or your process. So
yeah, I like the fact that my YouTube channel it's not the end itself. It is showing you how to do this other thing, and I don't know how the guys who are just pure entertainment do it.
Yeah.
Like, even if you look at guys like gamers who are doing like playthroughs and stuff, that content in some ways sort of makes itself, but like the guys who are just pure YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
like how
vlogging.
I don't know how you do that.
I want to kind of get into a little bit of story time. I want to hear about one of the coolest adventures that drones have taken Joshua on. Maybe another place in the world. Maybe it was like the scariest flight you've ever done. What was the scariest flight you've ever done?
For me personally, gosh,
maybe one that you can't talk about. This is a perfect place to talk about it.
I can think of a time. I was not the pilot for this one, but it was a super sketchy situation.
Yeah.
We were in China.
Great place. That's exactly where I was thinking.
Good start.
We were in China, and someone flew a quad over. We were flying like in a little park near the river, which is fine. But then there was a building, and someone went to fly over near the building. And there was a gap like at the top of the building, and he flew through the gap and he crashed. I don't know what happened. He failed safe. Maybe his battery sagged. I don't remember. But he ended up crashed on top of you check the DVR and check the video, and we could see the building he crashed on top of as a construction site. Mm-hmm. And he was all the way at the top. Mm-hmm. And we were like, so what do we do? Is this a loss? We write this one off. And the person who is the local person who was there helping us with our trip was like, oh, we can take care of this. So we go over there.
The local Chinese citizen or government person that was
whoever it was.
We'll leave it there.
Someone who knew the lay of the land, let's say. So we go and we find because I mean, like, thank God it crashed on top of a construction site instead of on a busy street.
Yeah.
So, you could argue, and if you do something irresponsible and you get away with it, you could maybe argue, now I had it.
Yeah.
But if you do something irresponsible and then you crash,
you got to own it.
You can't be like, you're like, you can't justify that. So that we go to the construction site. The person who knows the lay of the land says to the pilot, he says, you come with me. He goes, I wasn't there for this. I wasn't the pilot.
Right,
for the
right.
record. I'm telling somebody else's
Got it.
story. He goes, he takes the pilot, and apparently what happened is they met one of the construction, like the supervisor, and they gave him a little bit of money, and he said, one of you can come up. And so the pilot went up with him, retrieved his quad, left, and got the quad back. But that was a super sketch moment when we were like, well, did you crash on the street? Did you land on a car? Did you hit somebody in the head?
Yeah.
Or did, and then now that you've lost your quad, what are we going to do? Are we going to get it back, or are we going to just pretend that didn't happen? It was a super sketch moment. It was really fun to get to go to China.
Yeah. China is amazing. Where in China were you? You were closer to like Shenzhen?
Yeah,
like
we were
south.
We were in south,
west, south. Yeah. I've been to Hong Kong and Tianjin, which is close to Beijing, which is
Hong Kong was
further west.
Was amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We flew into Hong Kong, then we crossed the border to Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Hong Kong is such a weird amalgam of, it's like you're in a Western city. It feels Western in a way that China didn't.
Yep.
But it's also totally an Asian city also. It's like if New York was Asia, and it was so sort of comfortable and foreign at the same time.
Yeah.
It was a really weird city.
I was there for about a month and did a lot of walking around. And I think what was the craziest was that you could go from like the nicest possible buildings and areas to slums in literally a block. And it was just like, whoa, this is, it was very, very weird setup, but it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. I loved being there.
Yeah.
I want to spend more time in China, but might be a while these days.
Yeah, not so much these days. Hong Kong also sort of a touchy situation right now.
I wanted to hit on bribery as well, which is it's pretty funny because like it's such a foreign concept, I think, for us here in the States. Like you would never just go to, or very infrequently just go to a security guard and be like, here's $20, let me go do this. But like everywhere or many other places, it is like the default. Because like there was a moment I was in the Dominican Republic, and I don't speak any Spanish, and I'm just kind of posted on Instagram, hey, I'm in the Dominican, and a couple people hit me up and we're like, oh, let's go fly. And so we did like one day of flying, and then we kind of came back the next day, and this one guy picked me up who I'd connected with well, and he doesn't speak a lot of English, but just enough that we can communicate and have a good time. And I get in his car, and we start driving. He's like, I want to take you to this good spot, and it's amazing. Like it's the perfect bando. And we get to the place, and there's like a new fence up, and we're like, oh man, we can't get in. He's like, no, I got this. And so he leaves me in the car just on the side of the road and goes and starts talking to some people. And I can see money being exchanged. I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay.
And the person's like, go over there, talk to that person. We go over, we pull up into the entrance, and two security guards with like loaded shotguns approach the car. And I'm like, oh crap, what am I getting in? Like they start getting into like a discussion. They're like, it's right. Right. South America. It's very like just very
animated,
animated and excited. And I'm like freaking out because I'm like, I'm gonna get shot. My wife's not gonna, like, I don't have a cell phone.
My drone's gonna get shot.
Yeah. And eventually after handing him some money and going through this whole process, we got denied. Like they're like, nah, you can't do it.
But thanks for the money.
And we're driving away, and I'm like, so what's the reason? Why couldn't we go fly there? And he's like, well, they film shot there. No, we can't go in anymore. And I'm like, like a film, like a movie? And they're just like, no, but shoot, how do you say porno? Apparently some American guys came and shot a porn scene in this like barn bando, and they're like, our bosses were like, we can't have this happen anymore.
Yeah, that's where the line is.
So we couldn't fly drones.
I can't believe I didn't think of this when you asked, but you said South America, and it reminded me of the actual sketchiest thing that's ever happened.
Okay.
I can't believe this wasn't. It just took me a minute to get there.
It's a lot of.
We were in Puerto Rico, when we were in Puerto Rico, we were there, and Jeff Thompson, the owner of Red Cat, was hosting us. This was with Rotor Riot. And he said, "Oh, we've got all these places arranged for you to go." Well, what Jeff Thompson means by we arranged all these places for you to go is we're going to show up, we're going to just sneak in, and it'll probably be fine. So we went to like this wind farm that had been destroyed by the hurricane.
Oh man!
And it was just in some farmer's field, and there's just like a gate, and he's like, no, it's fine, we can go in. So we go in, and we're flying, and a guard comes up, and he's like freaking out because later Jeff was like, yeah, he's probably just worried he's going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
But Jeff talked to him, and it was fine. He's like, we can fly for like 15 more minutes, and we should go. So okay, so that's basically. So we go to this other place. He's like, there's this museum or whatever. It's been abandoned. And there's a place you can sneak under the fence.
Abandoned museum.
Okay. We didn't go in the museum, but we did go under the fence, and we're flying. It looks abandoned. And then a security guard shows up. So apparently it wasn't abandoned. And the security guard's pointing a gun at us. And she's like telling us to get the F out of there. So we got the F out of there. We all sort of bailed to the car. And I don't think she seriously was like going to shoot us, but we're like 7 of us and 1 of her. So, she wanted us to know she meant business, but definitely got a gun pointed at us. The funniest part of that story is Stingy had finished flying, and he had wandered down to the beach to take some pictures with his camera.
Yeah.
And we had been in 3 cars. And we had all sort of been just getting into the cars. So we all piled into the car. We're all like, let's get that, because we assumed she had called the cops.
Yeah, yeah.
And we didn't want to be there when the cops got there.
Yeah, yeah.
Because then it's going to get ugly.
You don't want to go.
So we were like, we got to get the F out of here. We got to get out of here. We all pile into the cars. We all leave. We're leaving. We're like, can we get off this dirt road in time before the cops show up and get to the main road and then just disappear into the We get to the restaurant where we're going to have dinner, and we look around and we're like, can you believe that happened? I can't believe that happened. Wait a minute, where's Stingy? Stingy's still down at the beach.
He's still shooting that glorious B-roll.
We're like, Stingy, don't go back to the museum.
Oh my gosh.
We abandoned him.
You ditched him.
We ditched him.
How did he make out? How did he get back?
We went back and got him.
Well, let's just say that's why he's no longer part of Rotor Riot.
No, we went back and got him. He was fine.
He's just rack focusing on some seashells and stuff like that. Just missing the whole
Meanwhile,
drama.
in the distance, there's just like dirt trails from the cars peeling out of the.
Yeah. So
it's amazing.
What about remote places? You were just telling a story about like you being around like 8 other of your buddies. No wonder you're getting caught at these places. You can't show up at a bando with like 8 people and expect to not draw attention. In general, what is like the most remote place you've ever flown a quad at? Like out in the middle of nowhere.
I don't get out. I fly at my house.
His house.
His house. Pretty remote.
That's one of the things I like about Rotor Riot shoots is it gets me out doing different things. They're always super fun, things I would never do on my own. But there were certainly locations in Puerto Rico that were pretty far out there. There was this one location we went to, and I don't know where on the island it exactly was. I'm not going to be able to. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name.
Okay.
Puerto Ricans, I apologize, but it was a bit of a drive out to the coast. And when we got there, mosquitoes were just eating us alive at a level that you have never experienced. I had never experienced. And like, I didn't want to be a wuss about it. I was like, nah, it's good. We're going to fly. And then it starts raining. And so now it's raining. So at least the mosquitoes aren't eating us in the rain. But now we're like just soaked. And we're just like, we're like, do you have bug spray? No, I don't have bug spray. No one had bug spray. We're just like, forget it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. The one I went to.
To his credit, can I interrupt you? To his credit, Drew, who is an absolute baller, he said, no, screw it, I'm flying. And he flew like 2 packs, and he got 2 good packs. And he was just getting, one of the other guys held a freaking rain fly over him so he could fly without his shit getting wet. And I was like, it's not worth it. Everybody else was like, it's not worth it. And he was like, I'm getting my packs. He is a freaking beast.
Yeah, Winston and I went with a couple buddies to Iceland, and we kind of set off on a hike that we didn't really think it through or think about how far it was or what kind of shape all of us were in, and we didn't really have any water, and we took we brought dead batteries with us where we should have just probably left them in the car or whatever, and we kind of just
in case you came across a charger or something.
Exactly.
Right.
And we just set off on this this hike, and luckily, like, I mean, it's Iceland, and it's like glacial runoff into these beautiful creeks. So you could just drink it right out of the creek. It was fine. I might have some parasites left over from that. But like when we finally got to this, like we're basically hiking up a ravine. We finally got to the end of the hike where there's this gorgeous waterfall coming down an Icelandic ravine with this beautiful river and like
there was a beautiful
awesome cliffs and
naked woman at the end. I'm just imagining this right now.
I actually did get mostly naked and jumped in the water, but I'm not a beautiful woman.
So like a Sasquatch type
yeah, exactly. And but we got to that final point, and there were it was not mosquitoes, thank goodness, but there were so many of these like fly things that were like kind of like bigger winged flies that would just like land on your face and like crawl on your hands and your arms and stuff. And it had been raining for most of the hike, and like it finished raining right as we got there, so it was actually really beautiful. But like I had a shama, like a just like square piece of fabric that I was able to kind of like wrap into like a headdress, put the goggles on, stuff my goggles into the headdress.
Nice.
Like my entire face is covered, and the only thing exposed were my hands on the controllers. And I just had one of the other guys like stand near me and just like shoo the flies away as much as they could. And we still got some amazing flights, but like it comes down to that commitment again. It's like, we're here, we're gonna get it done. And so respect to you guys for
I usually feel that way. I'm like, if I've come all this way, I need to try to get a shot, get a video. It was nobody. I don't know. I think we all were just like, screw it.
What did you do after that? Do you remember?
We just like went to dinner.
Enough said.
We're just like, this one's a bust. It wasn't to Drew's credit. He got some good shots, but I don't think it was it was a beautiful place to be, but it wasn't like a spectacular. It was like a craggy coast. So he found this one sort of like arch to go under and around, and did some power loops and matties and stuff. And if he had screwed it up, he would have literally been in the ocean. That just would have been it. But for the most part, I think we all sort of assessed that it wasn't a spectacular flying location. Yeah. It like wasn't. If it had been a great location, we would have like been screw it. We're just going to do it.
Yeah.
But I think it wasn't a great location.
Well, there's a lot of pressure to like put together FPV freestyle videos, I feel like, because of the artistic creativity you have as a pilot, like especially like LeDrib. I feel like I've heard people say that he flies a lot and puts a lot of packs in, but is kind of specific about what he puts out there on the internet or makes right.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you always kind of want to one up yourself or whatnot. I like to go out there and I like to create that amazing content, but it inevitably never really goes anywhere. So, I mean, how much of that stuff do you guys both have on your computer where it's just like potentially even a really good flight, but it never goes anywhere? Or do you just put it all out?
I should probably have higher standards. I
like that answer.
Most of what I do is doing tutorials or educational content or reviews. So when I get a solid like a freestyle rip at some location, I probably will make an edit out of it. Not 100% of the time. Even if it's not like the best I've ever done, I'm just like, let's just get something out there. And people want to see it. Like I feel like you can't get complacent. Like you get people like Johnny, and Johnny puts out like one video a year, and every single one blows your mind.
Yeah.
But he probably could put out more videos.
Yeah.
And Schizo's another example of that. Schizo doesn't fly as much as he used to, or at least he doesn't post as much as he used to. But when he flew, he would be like, I don't know, this one wasn't any good. I didn't post it. He like posts so little of the stuff. Meanwhile, like Stingy, when Stingy blew up, he was like, I just got this hard drive full of flights, and I'm just going to post one flight every day for a month. And he blew up, and everybody's like, well, they love it.
Yeah.
So you got to find a balance between just putting out crap and being too much of a perfectionist.
It's the ship to quality ratio. Back to that.
Absolutely.
That's what our lives are driven by, I think.
That's kind of one of the nice parts about a lot of the work that I do is it's
someone else that has to make
someone else's job to put it out there. It's not up to me to decide even what makes the show or not. So
you're in an interesting position though, because like if you're shooting a commercial or you're shooting a television show, at the end of the day, they have an air date. You're gonna get it done as best as you can, and then you're gonna ship. They're gonna edit.
Right.
Yep.
Whereas a freestyle, a creative piece has no due date, and you could just keep working on it forever and not know when it's done,
almost like an artist with a painting, it's like, I imagine that's how it is. You can always maybe add more detail here and there, but like, when is it enough?
Yeah, I mean, eventually, like if you go to a location and you shoot some packs, at the end of the day, when you come home, that's how many flights you've got. Unless you're planning on going back on a different day to try to get more packs, which sometimes you do. A lot of times I find myself in a position of, these are the flights I've got. Can I make a 3-minute edit out of this? Find me the best segments out of these 10 or 15 or 20 packs and make a 3-minute edit. And maybe one of those is not exactly a 9 out of 10. Maybe it's a 6 out of 10, but I need 20 seconds more footage to fit the song,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's one way to approach it.
But it still builds you as credibility for the JB brand. You know what I mean? Like,
depends on how good the flying is.
What is a video that you've always wanted to make but haven't yet?
Because Nurk's going to make it. Before
that'd be great.
I'm looking for ideas. I gotta put out a video on Monday. So
I have some ideas. I made one. I'm looking at my editorial calendar. I made one which was 17 ways to get a drone out of a tree.
Nice.
Where I tried, I thought it was going to be huge.
Let's talk about it.
I don't think it was as huge as I hoped it might be, but then they never are.
No.
The ones that blow up are some rando video you never expected to blow up.
The train video.
But that was a high concept. That was a concept video with a lot of planning and a lot of not just, sit down in the morning and say, what am I going to do today?
Yeah.
I got a method that's 100% effective.
Yeah. All right.
Don't make videos.
No, to get a drone out of a tree.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, it's the
cut down the tree.
It's the cut down the tree is good. It's I use the grappling hook method. So I got a 550 paracord. I don't know, a 500-foot spool of that.
That's a good one.
Speaking of amateur welding, I made a custom grappling hook with some decent gauge steel, a triple armed grappling hook, but I need a DJI drone to help make this happen. So I do a precision drop of that hook over the branch where the tree is stuck on. Nice. And I can make a drop mechanism. I have 2 Inspire 1s and I have an Inspire 2. I can make a drop mechanism with a stick and 2 zip ties with an Inspire 2 or Inspire 1.
You're totally overthinking it, though. I mean, I'm a fan of overthinking. That's not a criticism, but it's because you're flying an Inspire that's forcing you in a certain mindset. Just take a little 5-inch racing drone, fly it up, and disarm, and drop it over the branch. Boom, grapple.
Yeah, but that other quad's going to get stuck in. So you're using the quad as a grapple.
There's some risk. There's some risk to that. It's true. It's true.
How are you gonna get the grapple out of the tree?
Once that grapple is stuck in the tree, in fact, that's sometimes that thing is proven to rip off entire branches. So I've had to pull it. I've had to hook it up to my truck, like my hitch or something.
Oh, geez,
pull it out of there.
You are just gonna pull the tree down at that point.
One time, I mean that paracord's kind of elastic, so it just stretched out super taut, and that thing just caught loose and went, and just almost broke out my back windshield, but it's stuck into the dirt, really hard. You need a pulley system or a snatch block or something, probably make it safe.
Yeah.
But I'd always travel with it.
I named one video I meant to make. I always thought would be fun earlier, which is the day in the life. Yeah. I don't know if I've always wanted to do that.
You could almost make an MTV Cribs kind of vibe to it as well.
I got another idea. You better not steal this idea because I'll probably never do it. But
okay.
I had the idea. So I sometimes do these voiceovers at the beginning of a video, and the voiceover for my Flywoo Explorer review was me talking over music with flying. When I first had this idea, actually, I should give credit to Stan FPV. Stan FPV was dropping some real sort of deep philosophical bombs, and I cut it in to music over him flying. And I was like, that would be really cool if you could get a pilot to give you some freestyle footage, set it to music, and then also interview them and take some selected segments from their interview and cut it in over their freestyle footage and just do a series. That would be super cool.
That's what this video is. I mean, this whole podcast is that. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a lot of content for a 3-minute freestyle.
Some Carl Sagan or type of what is life?
What So I feel like the Joshua Bardwell that people know that sits behind the camera is very like you're very consistently the same person, and I think that's because it's who you are.
Very handsome, I might add.
But what
Is that too much?
what's something that people would be surprised to know about you?
I mean, I think I know the answer, because when people come to like you, I think you might have commented on this, or when they come to a Rotorite shoot, is that I swear a lot more in real life than I do on camera.
Fuck
They're
yeah.
like, whoa, I didn't know he swears so much. I swear a lot.
He always seems so nice.
I'm nice.
I thought he
I just
wouldn't
swear
swear.
a lot.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, fuck yeah, I'm nice.
Just swearing, smoking.
I try to keep the channel family friendly, because kids, like kids are in the hobby. They're watching my videos, and parents let the kids watch. And if I was swearing a lot, they might not like that. So
Speaking of family friendly channels, there was I was trying to get, or apparently I was up for a potential sponsorship through DRL. And a company watched one of my videos and decided not to go with me because I didn't make family friendly content. And the video that they cited was we drove to Sebring for like the big race that happened down there in Sebring, and we rented an RV to do it. We thought that would be kind of fun, like process. And like part of the video, like we're kind of like walking through the RV and checking it out, and I jump in one of the like bunk beds, and it has like a curtain, so I like pull a curtain over myself and lay in bed. And like, well, I'm thinking, they're like, oh, it'd be so funny if somebody opened it with the camera and I have my shirt off already. So I quickly get my shirt off, and like the guy J Rod, who was holding the camera, opened it. It was like, gross. Like, and it was a really, really funny moment. But I was kind of like laying there, like, like, hey, how's it going? And apparently that wasn't family friendly content anymore.
That's PG-13, dude. Unless you whip that dick out.
I was just like, what?
What are you gonna do?
Oh man,
you can't win.
But yeah, so I think we might be at the point where we should be looking at some footage together here.
All right,
it's a great time to get our Pilots React video segment out.
So next up on the show, we are going to jump into our sponsor segment with AirVuz. They're kind of like the YouTube for drones. They have like tons of awesome drone videos uploaded. And my buddy Blazer, who works for AirVuz, went through and dug out some of the 4 or 5 like best videos of recent history that he basically watches all of them. So he sent those over to me. We're going to kind of watch them, talk about what we do and don't like. It's going to be fun to have Josh's perspective, not just as a creator, but as an educator. So maybe he can, maybe we can learn something together today from watching these videos together. So Winston, let's start with your personal selections, and then we'll jump into the AirVuz ones.
All right, sounds good. Let me go ahead and get screen sharing set up.
Winston's our virtual bartender. Winston, what are we serving up tonight on the specials?
Specials tonight. No more Jim Beam out of the bottle. That is so last week.
Oh my God.
We got some Kentucky Straight Bourbon.
What was that? Oh my God, Joshua, what do you see?
This video.
What do you see?
This is old school. This is old school.
Keep in mind your audio viewers.
All right, guys. And with this one, I mean, he's been around for a while, and I just had to deep dive into some of his first videos that I saw on this channel. So,
how to tell if your multi-rotor's flight controller is mounted straight?
Because they didn't have. Look at the frame; it doesn't have mounting holes. It's just stuck on with freaking.
Is that balsa?
Freaking tape. It's poplar.
What's the date
wood.
on this video?
Excuse me, September 5th, 2014, and that looks like it's the the flight test Anycopter.
Yeah, the Electra Hub is what it is.
It's got 10 oak boats.
Yeah, it's made out of wood.
School.
He's like leaning it up against the desk.
This is
that
one of
camera
Joshua's
super out of focus.
First videos, I would imagine.
But it's
very early.
I rather enjoyed this because you listen to it. I have the sound off, so he's not talking over us. But you listen to it, and it's you just earlier.
just earlier. Did this drone fly?
Oh yeah, this is the drone I learned. This is the multi-rotor I learned to fly on.
Nice.
This was my first multi-rotor.
Awesome. You still have it?
No, God, no.
It caught
now
fire.
We're going over to the drone actually flying.
Practice. I forget what I was.
And nose and hovers with quadcopter.
And this is August 2014, so it's.
Why did I upload this? Like, why did I upload this? Who was going to watch this? I have no idea. It's just for myself.
Nose in practice, still good practice for those of you guys wanting to get a little up on your skills. Always practice the nose in line of sight.
Just don't fly line of sight. Just don't fly line of sight. It's a waste of time.
What? I disagree.
Just learn to hover. Learn to hover so you can do hover tests, and then just get on with your life.
I rather appreciated the fact that this is someone that a lot of people look up for, that knows a lot about what we do in the community, but we all start somewhere. And it was kind of cool just to see someone's take that, like, literally, this is just like anyone else. You start somewhere and you go with it. So I kind of appreciated that. And one of your first like how-to videos, I mean, it's you back then, just it's kind of cool to see how you still are you and who you were, but you've kind of fine-tuned it. It's kind of cool to see it.
And you filmed at such a nice time of day. Like, it's right at sunset.
It is a good time
beautiful.
of day.
You're also, doing your chores. You're cleaning out all that debris on your back deck.
Honey, where are you? I'm sweeping in the backyard. It's good.
It's the best way to clean up that pine straw.
All right, guys. So the one I have set up for you, it's a really cool take on it. This is actually moving pretty quickly for what looks to be a ducted drone, or has fan guards or a ducted setup on it.
Okay. Curious
so
to see how you know
a bunch of mountain bikers ripping down a mountain trail. It's like a ski trail during the summer.
Uh-huh.
Very contrasting.
I like the presence of that ski lift coming by. That I don't know if that was planned or coincidence. That was really nice.
Oh yeah,
timing.
Looks like a little squirt size drone there, based on the drone shadow.
It does look like a squirt. Oof. Like, it's got pretty deep ducts. I'm impressed that he can go this fast. Like, he's cruising with it.
Yep. So there's a mountain biker going down what looks to be like a setup course with a bunch of whoops and like tight corners for the mountain bike guys to go quickly, and this thing is keeping up with it.
Come on, get in there.
It's so challenging to chase somebody when they're changing speed, going fast in the straights and slow in the turns.
Yeah.
It's really challenging. You can see he's pulling away here in the straights, but then he catches up. And the slalom here, it's very challenging to get your setup where you can keep the subject in frame.
Yeah.
As you pitch forward and back to change speed. There he went out the top of the frame.
I liked that shot though, because he kind of started from away and revealed and then got back into the action. Like, that's what's so powerful about FPV is you can start big and end small and tight.
It's one of the things I noticed that Johnny does. He was the first one I noticed doing it. Is at the end of the shot, he'll take off, he'll pull up and pull away, so it's not just like, that's the end of the shot.
Yeah.
And then it's very clever.
He reveals and then concludes each shot.
You gotta get tight.
It edits together really well too.
I'm watching this video. I want that drone about 5 feet closer or more.
Well, yeah. It's the speed. I think. I think it's tough if you're fast enough to keep up with them in the straights. You overshoot them in the corners, and then you see the quadcopter having to constantly be doing the circling where you'll kind of overshoot and circle around. So it's very, very challenging without a gimbal to be able to track a moving object like that.
Yeah, I think that operator would have had a little bit more luck with probably with like a 5-inch drone, because I bet you he's like rated at the end of what that thing can do. What's his name? Ollie FPV with loose riders, Europe's Alps.
Ollie
Especially
FPV.
These guys got helmets on. What are they afraid of?
Yeah.
Oh, they're not afraid of a 5-inch drone. I mean, look at this ski lift right here. Yep.
Hang on, right here. Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's nice. I want him to go through the ski lift as he's chasing them. How cool would that be? Good, but there were people in the ski lift.
Another great location, though. I mean, they were set up to succeed. Overall, it was a really nice video. I mean, we're looking for the best of the best here on the Good Flight Podcast Drone Reacts segment. But you know what, though? That's a nice shot there. Nice.
What do you got next?
All right. So from this one kind of makes me think about something we said earlier, where you have like a voiceover with drone clips. Now, it's not oriented to the person talking, being the person that made the clip, but it's a really cool video titled Destiny. It's an inspirational, motivational video that uses a lot of drone clips from over 3 years of this person.
Perfect.
Bashir Abu Shakra.
A film. I love it. I love it. First off, that composition is amazing.
Great composition. Yeah.
So what we're looking at is a nice pull-away shot where it reveals a huge mountain covered in snow.
Oh, that could have lasted a little bit longer, I think.
But the mountain peak was. I don't really like things on center and frame typically. I'm like a 4/3 guy. I like them on the edge, but that was a beautiful mountain peak, kind of just right up there in the beginning. And these locations are stunning. So
yeah, I don't even. I don't even know where this is.
Stunning locations back to back. It seems like it's in the Alps. And also it's a very powerful voice that's used in this, and it's a really good motivational clip and just beautiful shots, beautiful backgrounds.
This is kind of what we talked about. This is going to be Joshua's next segment where we get different drone pilots in talking about philosophical alien shit.
Yeah.
Josh, what do you think about like traditional drones? Do you have anything that you fly?
Camera drones?
Yeah, boring drones.
I have a Mavic Mini. I have a Mavic Mini, but I just find myself never using it.
Yeah.
So my theory is that like I wanted to kind of expand my palette a little bit, but there's just only so much time in the day to make videos.
See, you're overthinking it, dude. It's just Inspired 2. Boom, it's done.
Yeah, just drop a cool 10G on a drone.
Yeah,
let's go.
I mean, the Mini just goes wherever you need it to, so that's good.
I know. But, I kind of want a Mavic Mini too now.
Yeah, I do too.
It's good. It's really good.
Winston just picked up a Mavic 2 Pro, or I guess we kind of picked it up. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, and we used it in a video the other day, and we got some really nice shots with it of like chasing the FPV drone and the climbers.
It's a really nice shot there. So we're looking at the silhouette of a climber as he's going down the ridge line. It looks like belaying off that cliff. Really, really nice shot there. All of these cut in perfectly with any film or TV.
I wish that he did more 3-axis movements. It's kind of they're all like 1 or 2-axis movements. Barely.
But there's definitely good use of the foreground in a lot of these shots. Almost every
really
shot.
Nice.
I don't mind
it's
that.
It's like a slight pan up and a dolly right. I want to see all 3. Like it's a drone. It goes in the air. Like let's do some cool stuff.
I hear that. But a lot of times when I talk to some of these like filmmakers, it's like that's the opposite of what they want. They want the simple move and the composition, and that's what I'm seeing a lot of that here in this video. The backlight here, as we see, really nice lighting.
Do we know what this was filmed on, Winston? Does it say?
Since this is a single operator, I'm guessing it's like a Mavic Pro 2.
I would assume so too, but
maybe that's
nothing in the description there.
That's too bad. But like these all look like freaking amazing places to go fly FPV too, though.
Location.
Can you imagine those mountain dives?
Yeah, show me. Let's do it.
Let's go. Let's pack it up and head out.
Flights are cheap.
Switzerland or whatever. Well, yeah, but we have to quarantine 14 days on both ends.
Sure. Yeah.
If I had to quarantine 14 days on both ends, I'd miss the birth of my firstborn son. I like some of these Dutch angles. You notice those at all?
Yeah, I noticed the rotation.
Real subtle. I really like it.
I mean, can we assume that he's doing that in post?
I assume that.
I never assume that. Inspire 2, obviously, you can roll the gimbal.
I don't think he's hauling an Inspire 2 to the top of that mountain, though.
I mean, I don't know if I would commit to rolling that gimbal, and it's like a big commitment.
Yeah, especially when you can just shoot it in 4K and crop in like 10%.
Yep.
That was really nice. I think I'm actually gonna go back on AirVuz.com and watch that. I'm actually not being sarcastic. Like I want to hear like what the voices say and stuff.
It's really cool. Definitely worth listening to. They did a really good job with the sound on that. That's one thing I definitely
link in the description over on AirVuz, and be sure to go over there and follow me and John and Bardwell. Do you have an AirVuz account?
I don't.
Yeah, should
get
one if you want.
I upload a lot of content.
I won't force you to do that, but if you started uploading content to AirVuz, they would be really, really happy about that. I'll tell you right now.
Well, I mean, I could tell you how much I make off of YouTube. We could certainly come up with something. Upload some stuff to AirVuz.
Do we have more videos there, Winston?
I sure do. Let me pull up one more for us.
Cool. All right, so we've got cinematic FPV, aerial, real, framework films, 4K footage.
First off, we're in LA. This bridge specifically is like the most filmed bridge ever in drones.
Go back. I want to see the bridge again.
It's like it must be just like shut down permanently or something. It's just always.
Why do so many people use it? Do you think?
It's probably easy to get permits.
It's the one bridge that they can. Yeah, it's the one bridge you can shoot at. It's like that one alley in New York City, in Manhattan. Mm. There's like one alley in Manhattan where they shoot all movie alleys.
Or the LA
that's
River.
Nice. That was fast.
We're jumping around again. I had this comment on the last Pilots React segment. Is like, it's hard to follow. I don't know if it's Winston's.
Don't chase trains. I'll tell you right now. Just don't do it. Volcano. Oh, that's cool. drifting. Wow, we went from train to volcano to drifting to beach biking.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Oh, that's Machine Gun Kelly.
Is that MGK?
Yeah. A little sandboarding. That's cool.
I get it.
This
It's
is,
a real.
Illegal shot right
Yeah,
there.
it's a real.
Flew over.
Why was that shot illegal, Paul?
Flew over
Oh,
top of
love
the person.
that. Love the little roll over the trains.
Commit.
Great use of freestyle.
Some cine whoop dancing. Dive down the U.S. Bank building in L.A.
It's theoretically possible they had a permit for nice transition. I like when they transition with a consistent quadcopter move. So you're rolling left and then you're rolling left or whatever. So it flows nicely.
Yep. I'm still waiting to see
we
one of
went
Paul's
from-
favorite transitions.
We went from bikinis to snow mountaintop.
Bring that bikini back real quick.
Oh no, jeez! It's a family-friendly show. Yeah, this is nice. It looks like they've gotten to fly in a lot of spots. I wouldn't call a lot of this like unbelievable flying, but they definitely took the time to find the right spots and get the right shots, and I'm jealous of.
It's interesting because like as a professional, there's so much you could look at a professional and you go, oh, their flying wasn't that great, and so much of what they do is
not flying.
that you don't see it. It's being there, it's being ready, it's having the gear, it's knowing how to interface with the director.
Yeah.
It's like when you look at a filmmaker and some people say so and so isn't such a great filmmaker, why does he get to keep making movies? And it's because he has a lot of other skills that you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some of that is when you look at professional drone pilots. I mean, their job is not to get out there and rip balls.
Yeah, I'm just
to get there and
jealous.
get the shot.
That's what's happening. I just wish it was me.
I think you're Joshua. I think that's like really a nice statement there. I think that's true.
Absolutely.
With that reel, I think that showed a lot of those. There was a lot of different professional sets they were filming with there, but it was all shot on a GoPro. You could tell that because the dynamic range wasn't there. A lot of the skies were blown out. That was my biggest issue with that last reel. There was just like, does it hold up? It holds up on a podcast or on an iPhone, but maybe not anywhere else.
Yeah, I asked Andy Shen about that, and freaking Randy Slavin. I don't know if you know them. Randy Slavin runs the New York City Drone Film Festival, and we did a panel. And I asked them at the end of the panel. I was like, "Okay, can I steal a few minutes of your time? Why in the hell are people putting cinema cameras on quadcopters, on freestyle quads?
People don't like GoPros."
I was like, and he gave me he actually said he was going to turn it into another segment, but the dynamic range, the lens selection, and so on. I mean, because my argument was when you're flying like a cinema rig, you have the ability to sort of appreciate the image quality of the higher end camera. But when you're flying a GoPro at 70 miles an hour, zippy, 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 doing flips and rolls, I just felt like there wasn't that much of a difference. But they were adamant that things like you're like, oh, the sky's blown out. Like you immediately notice that.
Yeah. Well, the professionals notice it. The audience then is just like, 95% of the people that see it are like, oh, that was a cool shot. Not like, oh my gosh, can you see how bad the dynamic range was and the color banding and the vignetting in the corners and it's like, okay.
You're also we're also watching on our computers. Like if you were to watch it in like your
if we shot a movie tomorrow, it's not coming out in a theater. It doesn't matter.
Theaters are not dead. All right?
They are.
Plus, no, they're not.
I will say Randy's first answer was that it's about optics. That when you show up at a shoot, they don't want you to show up with a GoPro. It just doesn't look good.
No,
even if
absolutely.
the GoPro could get the shot.
Yeah.
And then he went on to talk about lenses and dynamic range and all that stuff. But his first answer was optics, and I was like, I knew it.
Yeah,
Josh, it's called show business, baby.
I show up with Pocket Cinema on a drone, and then I talk them out of it. That's basically what I do when I go to set. It's like,
it's not always a heavy lift shot. It's not always the shot for the, like the Alexa mini drone. Sometimes it's an Inspire. Sometimes it's a GoPro for sure.
Nah, you just you go in and just say, here's this. It costs you this much more to fly it, and I can't do these things. What can you do?
Yeah.
Well, I can use the GoPro for cheaper, and I can do stuff that will blow your fucking mind. Oh, okay, let's do that.
You got to charge them the large dollar amount first, and then all the rest is
And
just
then walking
free
down.
included. Yeah.
They had this Dodge commercial. I think it was a Dodge commercial. Who was it who shot that? Was it Johnny?
There's
Johnny or Beverly Hill Aerials.
But they were
maybe.
like, man, maybe it was Beverly Hills Aerials and Tommy. But they were like, oh yeah, there's drone footage in this Dodge commercial. So I watched the commercial, and it's literally like a half a second cut.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
I guess technically it was there, but
yeah,
yikes.
It's a half a second.
Like that
man, that's all it
pretty
takes.
normal. Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing that I've stopped doing. I've gotten pretty bad at doing like whole good flights because I know that because I spent a lot of time thinking about like just getting that one moment.
Yeah.
Which I feel a little bit bad about because it's like, oh, all they really want is this 20 frames.
Interstitial.
Right. Yeah.
Quick cut.
So
you got to get back, Paul. You got to do your 3 packs a day. Try to get back to your freestyle roots.
I don't have time, man.
3 packs a day. I love it. That's like the best thing I've heard of.
I think 3 packs a day is a good place to start wrapping it up. Joshua,
awesome.
This is thank you so much for taking the time to be here tonight. I want to give you some time to just plug your stuff. What do you want people to know about? What do you got going on?
The number one thing I would like to plug is the Flow State documentary. There's a guy out there named James Christensen, and he decided he wanted to make a documentary about FPV, and then remote ID started to happen, and he was like, I got it. That's my dramatic through line. The threat of remote ID to FPV and the potential to get the word out about FPV to the public, to present the FPV to them in a way they can relate to and be inspired by, in the way that it inspires all of us. He's making a film. The name is I think it's a working title. I don't know if it's final, but it's Flow State, the FPV or the FPV drone documentary. And the trailer I was like, okay, well, what are you going to make? And then I saw the trailer and I was like, holy crap. I think he was actually just shooting this last weekend in Atlanta. So I know he's still getting footage. I think he's targeting having it out sometime after 2021, but I'm trying to help him drive views to that trailer. So I'd love to put a link to the trailer down in your show notes or something, and people can check that out. Yep. What he said to me was, he was like, it's really important. Stage 1 of getting this film to be successful, get it on Netflix, get it on Amazon or whatever, is to have this trailer have lots and lots of views so that when we go to shop it around, it'll be. So I'd love for people to check that out if they haven't.
100%. Everybody, go click the link in the description right now.
Sweet.
You can also find Joshua on YouTube. He has a Patreon. He has Instagrams. He has Discords. He has all of the things. He is more accessible than any of the other 3 schmucks in this conversation. So if you want to talk to me, you might as well just talk to Joshua first, and then he'll text me. So
he's also on fpvknowitall.com. That's his website, where links to all of his videos as well. And
cool.
Thank you guys. It was good to be here. Nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Great interview. It's
been great to kind of get back behind the scenes to see, to kind of think about where you've been to where it's going, and all of the good flights in between. So thanks very much for hanging out
and the
this
sketchy
evening.
flights. The sketchy flights.
Yeah.
Keep flying the good flight.